Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Academy. As promised, today we are going to discuss the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. This is an extremely important topic and we actually discussed a lot about what exactly do we mean when we refer to the terms dementia, Alzheimer's and many other things. So in case you haven't, make sure that you watch that video before you jump to this one. It will just make it easier to understand. I was also very happy seeing the response and feedback from the previous video. So whether you're in your youth or you are advancing that particular age where we know when Alzheimer's or dementia starts to set in, and if you want to know the difference between what age-related memory loss is and what age-related changes are and how it is very different from the dementia we see in many other conditions, including the most common cause, which is Alzheimer's, which we're going to talk about today, then this video is for all of you. The first warning sign that I want to discuss today are memory changes that disrupt daily life. Now, what do I mean by this? When I refer to the typical or the normal aging process, it is very normal to forget names and appointments, but we will tend to remember them later on. However, one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's, especially during the early stages, is forgetting recently learned information. Also forgetting important dates or events which one would normally remember, asking the same information over and over again, relying on memory aids like electronic notes or devices, or beginning to rely on family members for information or for the work that they tend to handle by themselves before. The second warning sign is facing challenges in planning or solving problems. Now, with typical aging, it might be normal to make certain errors while balancing a checkbook or doing certain calculations or trying to solve a particular problem. But with Alzheimer's, the person may have difficulty doing very simple things like trying to follow a familiar recipe or keeping track of their monthly bills. They may have difficulty in concentrating and take longer time to complete a particular task than what they were used to. And this brings us to the third warning sign, which is difficulty in completing familiar tasks. Now, during the typical aging process, if the person is not used to, or if something is new, like the settings on the microwave or how to record a television show, it is very normal to ask for help to navigate and use these particular things. But people with Alzheimer's will have difficulty completing and doing even normal daily tasks like cooking, shopping, personal grooming, medical care. Some things that they were used to doing normally as well is what they find difficulty in performing, remembering, and even completing it. So if you know someone who has trouble driving to a familiar place or tends to forget the rules of their favorite game, then these are certain warning signs that should trigger a warning bell and a warning antenna for you that the person needs to be assessed thoroughly by a physician so that we may detect it early. The fourth warning sign is confusion with time or place. During the typical aging process, the person may tend to get confused about what day of the week it is. Like, quite honestly, even I sometimes get lost and I keep wondering what day is it, what date it is. But we are able to figure it out later. But with Alzheimer's, people tend to lose track of the day, date, season, time, everything. They may forget where they are or even how did they get to a particular place. The fifth warning sign is having trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Now I'll explain what I mean by this in just a second. Part of the aging process can include having changes in our vision because of certain changes or conditions of the eyes like cataract. But for some people, having visual changes or problems in their vision could be a sign of Alzheimer's. They may have difficulty reading, judging distance, or determining a color or contrast. Now we know when we drive a car, it is very important to have that sense of perception, judgment, use the rear view mirror, the side mirrors. We have to use all these things to make sure that we're driving safely, right? But for a person with Alzheimer's, using all the mirrors at the same time, having the ability to make the right judgment becomes too overwhelming as well. They tend to feel there is too much information. They might get very upset about it, or it may lead to mistakes, which can even lead to an accident. The sixth warning sign that I want you to pay attention to is having new problems with words in speaking or writing. Now, part of the typical aging process can involve having some trouble in remembering that right word. Like, it really tends to happen many times when we know that particular word, but it just doesn't come to our mind. So that is normal. But people with Alzheimer's will struggle with their vocabulary. They will have trouble finding the right word very frequently. They may even use the wrong names and not even realize that they're doing it, like calling a watch a hand clock, something as simple as that. They may just stop in the middle of a conversation when they're speaking and then not know how to proceed further, or they may repeat the entire thing without even realizing that they are repeating what they just spoke about. So these subtle changes right from the very beginning could give you a clue and detect the disease in its early stages. The seventh warning sign is misplacing things and losing their ability to retrace steps. Now, it is very normal to misplace things from time to time, like we tend to leave our glasses at some place. So once in a while, that is fine, it is normal. But a person with Alzheimer's will put things in unusual places. They may lose things, they may even accuse somebody of stealing something, and this can even occur more frequently over time. The eighth warning sign is having decreased or poor judgment. Now, taking a bad decision once in a while is fine, it is normal. But people with Alzheimer's may experience changes in their judgment and decision making. For example, if you knew someone who was very good with numbers, was very careful with their money, but of late you notice they're making poor judgments when it comes to money, lending money. They might give large amounts or invest large amounts of money. Or you may even notice something as simple or subtle, like they are unable to decide or choose what is the perfect kind of outfit or clothing to wear based on the season or occasion that they are being part of. The ninth warning sign is withdrawal from work or social activities. Now, as we tend to age and mature, or based on the kind of personality you are, it is completely fine to get tired of the work that you are part of or wanting to take a break from family or social obligations. But a person with Alzheimer's will start to remove himself out of a particular hobby that he was really interested in pursuing, any work projects or family gatherings that he used to once like being a part of. They may have trouble keeping up with their favorite sports team, or even have difficulty in remembering how to engage in their favorite hobby. They may also tend to avoid being social because it becomes harder and harder for them to keep up with the conversations. And the last warning sign that I want you to keep in mind are changes in mood and personality. Now, during the typical aging process, it is very normal to develop a specific way of doing things, and it is even fine becoming irritable when that routine gets disrupted. Like, we always see our grandparents or our parents having this very particular disciplined way of doing a particular thing, right? Because they have been doing that over the years. It is something very normal, something very routine. But when it comes to Alzheimer's, this particular characteristic of mood and personality becomes very tricky to assess, because it can be very easy for someone with dementia to do a particular thing that was part of his routine process. So you will not be able to pick up those changes very obviously, but they can become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or even anxious when situations call for spontaneous changes or quick responses. As a result, they may become easily upset at home, at work, with friends, or in places which are out of their comfort zone. So what should you do if you see these signs in yourself or someone else? Now, I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick these signs up in yourselves. It can be either of the two things. We tend to be in denial, or we try to overdiagnose certain things within ourselves. So I always recommend having a loved one assess it for you and you doing it for them, and vice versa. But the first thing that I want you to do is talk about it. Please talk with people about what you are seeing and what you are thinking. Discuss your suspicions. We need to break the silence about this disease, which is keeping people from getting the medical care that they actually need. Please encourage everyone with the symptoms to see a doctor to determine what the underlying cause actually is. As I mentioned time and again, there are many causes of dementia which are actually treatable and can be reversed. Getting the right treatment as soon as possible is very important no matter what the diagnosis is. So early detection is the key here. Alrighty, I hope you found this video helpful. I really believe that together we can break the stigma that is keeping people from getting the help that they really need and deserve. Please share this video with your friends and family. This is a very important topic that we need to address. Keep your eyes and ears open. Be involved with your loved ones. It is important to detect any disease early so that interventions and treatment can be started as soon as possible, because it becomes very difficult to reverse anything that has been going on for a long time, because that much amount of damage has already taken place. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave it in the comment section below. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because that is the only way you and I can stay connected always. Till then, continue to glow, thrive and shine always. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay blessed. Take care. See you soon.